Welcome to today's tutorial on how to create a virtual machine on Azure with Windows or Linux operating system. In this video, we'll walk you through each step of the process using the Azure portal. Virtual machines on Azure provide scalable computing resources in the cloud. Whether you need a Windows-based or Linux-based environment, Azure makes it easy to deploy and manage virtual machines to meet your specific requirements. To begin, go to the Microsoft Azure website. Click on Free Account and then Start Free. If you are prompted to log in with a Microsoft account, simply do so or create a new Microsoft account if necessary. Next, fill out the form with your details such as first name, last name, email address, mailing address, and you will also be asked to verify your identity through your phone number. Beware charges may apply for the call or SMS. You will then be prompted to enter your payment card details. Your card won't incur charges unless you take action to move to a pay-as-you-go account. Once your account is verified and created successfully, we can proceed further with our tutorial. Let's take a look at the Azure portal by going to portal.azure.com in your web browser. By clicking on the Create a Resource button, you can start creating resources in Azure. You can browse through categories and find the item you would like to create. For example, if you want to create a Windows or Linux-based virtual machine, you can click on the Compute category. From there, click on Try our Quick Start Center. Now, in the Start a Project section, choose Deploy a Virtual Machine by clicking on the Start button. Now you can choose whether you want to create a Windows or Linux-based virtual machine. In this tutorial, we will choose a Windows-based virtual machine. You can click on the Learn More button to see more details about the chosen option. When ready, click on the Create button to proceed. Now we can start configuring our virtual machine. It will ask you for some basic information. First, you need to choose the subscription into which you would like to deploy your virtual machine. Next, pick or create your resource group. In the next text box, enter the name of the virtual machine. Now you have to choose the physical location of the virtual machine. Choose one that will suit you. Then, you should pick the image of the virtual machine. At the very top, you'll see Linux distributions, and at the bottom, you'll see Windows Server options as well. We are going to create a Windows Server virtual machine, so we'll choose the Windows Server 2019 Data Center Edition. Be aware that this is not a full list of images to choose from. These are only popular and recommended options. If you want to browse the full marketplace, you can do so by clicking the See All Images button. After you choose an image that suits you, we can configure our virtual machine size. You can click on the See All Sizes button to, just as you guessed it, to see all sizes that are available to you from your subscription type and region that you've selected earlier. You can change some options in the filter on the top of the site to narrow down your selection. After you find the size of the virtual machine that you're happy with, we can proceed further by clicking the Select button at the bottom of the page. Next, configure local admin credentials for your virtual machine. You also have the ability to configure the inbound port rules. They're used to open ports that might be useful for remote management during deployment. In this case, we are going with Remote Desktop, RDP. Click on the Next button to go to the configuration screen. From there, you can choose the performance of the operating system disk, and you can attach additional data disks if you need additional storage capacity on the virtual machine. Click on the Next button again to go to the networking configuration. Here, you can configure advanced networking settings, including virtual network configuration, public IP address, network security groups, which allow us to define firewall policies, inbound port rules, and a load balancer. If you're happy with the default settings, as we are, then you can click on the Review and Create button. This button will take you to the summary of what you're about to do. It will show you what configuration options you've chosen for your virtual machine, and that summary will also show you pricing details in the cost of the resource you're about to create. If you see Validation Passed at the top of the page, then it means that all of your configuration options are working well together and that you're able to create the virtual machine. Now, we can click on the Create button to create our virtual machine. Once the virtual machine has finished deploying, you can click on the Go to Resource button, which will take you directly to the details page of that virtual machine. At the top, you'll see basic configuration information, and below are tabs where you can view more configuration properties and utilization details in charts. Across the top of the page, there's a strip of buttons that allow you to manage the life cycle of your virtual machine. With these buttons, you can start, restart, and stop your virtual machine. You can also capture an image of this virtual machine if you want to create additional virtual machines that are similar. Additionally, you have the option to delete this virtual machine. By clicking on the Connect button, you'll see options for connecting to this virtual machine remotely. RDP is listed first because it's a Windows-based virtual machine. Clicking on RDP will give you the option to download an RDP file to your local system, which you can then open up and remote desktop into the virtual machine. You can configure this virtual machine like any other server data center. For now, let's close this RDP session and return to the Azure portal. As mentioned earlier, you can also create Linux-based virtual machines on Azure. As you can see, the dashboard for this virtual machine looks similar to the dashboard for a Windows-based virtual machine. You'll find the same detailed information and a strip of buttons across the top of the page. This time, when you click on the Connect button, RDP will not be at the top of the list. Azure recognizes that it's not a Windows-based virtual machine, so we won't connect to it via RDP this time. Instead, we will use an SSH connection type. By clicking SSH, you'll see a pre-formatted command that you can copy and paste into a terminal or command prompt window to start an SSH session with your virtual machine on Azure. There, you can do things like type top to get a list of running processes or perform other management tasks on this Linux-based virtual machine. That's all. I hope you've learned something new today and that your virtual machine is now working properly.